Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Okay. Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunjabihahure Jaya Radha Madhuva Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunjabihahure Kunjabihaure Gopi Janabalaba Iri Padatare Gopi Janabalaba Iri Padatare Gopi Janabalaba Iri Padatare Janabalaba Ire Vadadhari Yasudanan Dana Praja Janaranjana Yasudanan Dana Praja Janaranjana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunjabihaure Radha Madhuva Kunjabihaure Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunjabihaure Gopi Jana Balaba Ire Badadhari Jana Balaba Ire Badadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Ire Badadhari Ire Badadha Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasudanana Brajajana Ranjana Jana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jayo Radhu Madhuva Kunjabihaure Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunjabihaure Madhuva Re. Jai Om Vishnupad. Paramahamsa. Acharya. Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Sabaya. Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami. Srila Prabhupada Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada Jai. Adanta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Jai. Prem Say Kaho Shri Krishna. Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasiti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamudamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samvita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premalanda Hari Hari Gaur. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada. Ichai Nama Om Vishnupadaya. Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pachani Nivishesha Shinyuvadi Paschacha Dejatarni. So we are reading today from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 57th chapter, texts 35 to 36. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're just going to do the first one responsively. Okay. Pujayatva Vibhashainam. Katayatva Priya Kata Vigyata Kila Chitta Ya Asmayamana Ovacha Ha. Okay. Pujayatva Vibhashainam. Kathayatva Priyakata Vinyata Kila Chittakya Smayamana Uvachaha Pujayatva Vibhashainam Kathayatva Priyakata Yata Kila Chittakya Smayamana Uvachaha Pujayatva Vibhashainam Kathayatva Priyakata Yata Kila Chittakya Smayamana Uvachaha. Okay. Vajraha. All right. Pujayatva, honoring. Abhibhasha, greeting. Enam, him, Akrura. Kathayatva, discussing. Priya, pleasant. Kata, topics. Vidyata, fully aware. Akila, of everything. Chitta, Akrura's heart. Ya, knowing. Okay, actually, I'm going to the next verse. Anyway, Smayamana, smiling. Uvachaha, he said. Now I'll just read the next verse. Nanudana patenyastas twayaste shatadanvana shamantakkomani shriman viditta purvamevana. All right. Nanu, surely. Dana, of charity. Pate, O master. Nyasta, kept. Twai, in your care. Aste, is present. Shata danvana, by Shata danva. Shamantaka, money, the Shimantaka jewel. Shriman, opulent. Vidita, known. Purvam, beforehand. Eva, indeed. Na, by us. Translation. Lord Krishna honored Akrura, greeting him confidentially and spoke pleasant words with him. Then the Lord, who was fully aware of Akrura's heart by virtue of his being the knower of everything, smiled and addressed him. O master of charity, surely the opulent Shimantaka jewel was left in your care by Shatadhanva and is still with you. Indeed, we have known this all along. So you can repeat, Lord Krishna honored Akrura, greeted him confidentially, and spoke pleasant words with him. Then the Lord, who was fully aware of Akrura's heart, by virtue of his being the knower of everything, smiled and addressed him. O master of charity, surely the opulent Shaimataka jewel was left in your care by Shatadanva and is still with you. Indeed, we have known this all along. So the purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Krishna's treatment of Akrura here confirms that he is actually a great devotee of the Lord. We'll talk about that. And so we're going to read the commentaries by the Acharyas, and then we'll speak. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, not only is Krishna as Paramatma the knower of all Atmas, but he is the knower of all Paramatmas in everyone's heart. Yattak akila atmakya. Therefore, what is so remarkable if he knows the Krura's heart? Smiling, Krishna said, "You are not Shatrajit's enemy. You did not steal the jewel. You were not greedy for wealth. You are the greatest devotee. Do I not know your mind? I know even the Paramatma in your mind. Why are you afraid of me? What can I ask you? I already know everything." And Jiva Goswami states, what he said is now described. He spoke asking polite questions. He spoke dear topics, Priya Katha, concerning the glories of devotion and devotees, and how Krura had stayed near Vasudeva and others, worrying about their safety, and had then followed Kamsa's orders with the aim of having him killed, that Kamsa killed, by coming to Braja to see Krishna and bringing Krishna to Mathura to kill Kamsa. He also spoke to Akrura about the recent lamentable events. He spoke with joy, while smiling with deep intention to show that he knew Akrura had the jewel. I know this jewel which gives wealth, Shriman, or which shines, is with you. Because of this, it cannot be hidden for long. It is not possible to hide it now, also, since I have known you have it from long before, even before the death of Shatadanva. All of us know this. And Sanatana Goswami, there's some statements here. What he said is now described. He spoke asking polite questions. He spoke dear topics, Priyakatha, concerning the glories of devotion and devotees. He spoke with joy, comforting Akrura, so that he would give the jewel, or happy that he had come. He smiled with deep intention to show that he knew Akrura had the jewel. His smile arose slightly because he spoke for Akrura's benefit, though he had arranged the events himself. So Nano indicates affection or certainty. O Lord of wealth, this is uttered with respect. In other words, it's not a sarcastic statement. Or we understand the jewel is with you because of your piles of wealth. This will be clarified later. What has been left with me? Out of embarrassment, Krishna does not mention the jewel in the beginning. By naming it Shaimantaka, no other jewel is meant. Or is Shaimantaka a person's name? No, it is a gem, Mani. I know this jewel which gives wealth, Shriman, or which shines, is with you. Because of this, it cannot be hidden for long. It is not possible to hide it now. Also, since I have known you have it from long before the death of Shatadanva. All of us know this. Krishna was skillful at covering his favoritism towards Akrura. So, Om Ganat Timiranda Shak, Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur and Militam, Yena Tasmai, Shri Gurave Namaha. So, some interesting topics here, which we're going to talk about. First of all, Krishna is the knower of everything. This first topic. Second topic is that Krishna is equal to everyone. And the third topic is that Krishna plays favorites with his devotees. It seems to be a contradiction. Krishna's equal to everyone. He plays favorites with his devotees. It definitely is playing favorites here. He's even favoring Akrura over Balaram. Which is, there are statements in the Vedic literatures that where Krishna says, my devotees are so dear, that basically more dear than myself, my transcendental body, Ananta Shesh, Lord Shiva, and we're going to give some examples about that. And of course, at the same time, Ananta Shesh Balaram is Krishna's devotee, right? Isn't it? Like Govardhan is described as, the Krishna Varya. He is the greatest devotee of the Lord. And Lord Shiva is described as what? The greatest devotee of the Lord. Vaishnavanam, Yata, Shambhu. So what's going on here? These are the pastimes of the Lord. If you try to understand or conceive of these things, then you get back to the point of Achincha. Krishna's just having fun. That's the real point. Krishna's having fun, and he loves his devotees, and he's using his devotees to have fun with. That's actually what we're seeing here. So first we're gonna quote some verses because this is the standard in the Vedic tradition, where Krishna shows that he's equal to everyone, and then we'll contrast that in a second. So, of course, Bhagavad Gita has some verses like this. Some of them are my favorite. But anyway, one is Samuham Sarvabhuteshu. Isn't it? Everybody knows that. Ame Dveshosti Na Priyaha. And the rest of the verses, Ye Bhajanti Tamam Bhaja, Maya Teteshu Chapyaham. And that's a very important verse, 929 in the Gita, where Krishna says, I envy, I'm reading the translation, and I'm going to read Prabhupada's purport because it's important in this regard. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. So Krishna here is contrasting his partiality, his impartiality, with his partiality. And Prabhupada says in his purport, beautiful purport here in the Gita, one may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is a special friend, then why does he take special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination. It is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. So here, the real mood of devotion that Krishna has for his devotees is being shown. And it's not a partial devotion, because everyone has a right to it. You know, another verse in the Bhagavad Gita is Ye yatamam prapajante tam sataiva bhajamyaham amavartmanu manushapartha sarvasha. That as they, and it probably translated as they surrender to me, but actually as they approach me is the literal translation. Ye tamam prapajante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. I reciprocate with them. So Krishna's reciprocating with people. So it's not that he has favorites, yet he does have favorites with the people who reciprocate devotionally with him. Anyway, he has favorites, but doesn't have favorites. The Lord, I'll continue with this purport. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son. So he provides everyone with a generous supply of necessities of life. And then here Prabhupada talks about pouring down rain and everything like that. And then Krishna says, the devotees, they are in me. So the devotees are in Krishna. And there's another interesting verse in the Bhagavatam that corroborates this particular fact. That's Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam Sadhanam Hridayam Doham Madanyate Najanati Naham Tebyo Managapi. It was a beautiful verse, and it's spoken by Krishna in regard to the Durvasa Muni Ambarish pastime, where Durvasa Muni is attempting, first of all, to kill Ambarish because he feels offended because Ambarish took some water without his permission and before he took water. And he creates this big, what's a demon, this creature to kill Maharaj Ambarish, and the creature gets killed by the Sudarshan Chakra, and the Sudarshan Chakra is threatening Durvasa Muni. And then Krishna explains to Durvasa Muni that Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam. So the sadhus have me in their heart, Hridayam Mayam. But I also have the sadhus in my heart. In other words, you become a devotee to Krishna. If you approach Krishna with devotion, just like you're meditating on Krishna, you're offering all the results of your activities to Krishna. Krishna's doing the same with you. He's meditating on you. And even when he meditates on you, sometimes, Krishna breaks the rules to show special favor to you. I mean, I was thinking about this in regard to the Shrimad Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Krishna says to Gopa Kubar, he says, I was wondering when you were going to come back to me. And he said, basically I'm paraphrasing, you have these rules. You don't interfere with the living entity's free will. It's a rule. Krishna's established rule. But Krishna says he broke the rules. And he says, I became your guru. I mean, it's so interesting, this interaction between the Lord and his devotees. So anyway, there's many verses about illustrating that Krishna is equal to everyone and Krishna especially favors his devotees. And then the point is Krishna is the knower of everything. That's the other point I wanted to bring out. Of course, I said that what I would deal with first, but I'm dealing with the Samoham first and then knower of everything. And in the Bhagavad Gita is everything. I mean, our whole philosophy is there in Bhagavad Gita. Every day I try to read one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One may think, I've known it, read it 10,000 times before. But there's more and more realization. Each time you read it, I mean, each verse, verses that I didn't understand when I was a new devotee, the verses actually become alive now. Like the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. In the beginning, it was just, I first joined the movement, I couldn't understand. What is this? Kshetrag Gayar, what is it? What's happening here? And now it's quite interesting. So this verse, Kshetrag Gayar, verse actually is, or the third verse in the 13th chapter, which I'm going to recite right now. Kshetra Gyam Chapi Bam Vidi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata Kshetra Gyor Gyanam Yash Taj Gyanam Vatamama, which is basically translated, O scion of Bharata, you should understand that I'm also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So in other words, it's a reality that Krishna resides in our hearts. And he's watching everything we do. I mean, we forget that. Or we don't remember it any time. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? If you think about it. Krishna's there. He's your best friend. Bhaktaram Jagatapasam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suridam, Sarva Bhutanam, Getwamam Shanti Richati. Isn't it? Ishwara Sarva Bhutanam. Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutane, Yantra Rudani Maya. These are all verses from Bhagavad Gita. That the Supreme Lord is in everyone's heart. Sarva Bhutane, all living entities. Hridesha Arjuna, in the heart. Tishtati, situated. And he's directing us according to our desires. Mantak Smritir Gyanam Aponam, another verse from Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Isn't it? According to your desires, giving you intelligence, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So he's aware of everything, he's directing everything, but he's not forcing you to think in a particular way, and he reciprocates with your thinking and with your devotion. Wow. So anyway, Krishna knows everything. Another verse that I really like in the Bhagavad Gita is in the 7th chapter, text 26, where Krishna really states that he knows everything. And devotees argue about this verse sometimes because it seems to contradict with free will. The verse is, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishani chabutani mam tu veda nakashchanan. That means, O Arjuna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I know everything, past, present, and future. But I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. Which is an interesting verse because I mentioned it really seems to contradict free will, right? Because you think, Krishna knows what I'm going to eat this morning. He knows that I'm going to get angry. So it's all predestined, so I'm not responsible. It's going to happen anyway. No, it doesn't contradict free will because Krishna knows that you are going to use your free will to choose in a particular way. It's not, there's no predestination, although it seems to be predestination. It's not predestination. And of course, Krishna can change the future too. He's God. Prabhupada said, that his actions have created your good fortune. So with the actions of a pure devotee, then the future becomes changed. So then the question, you can backtrack. Does Krishna know that the... It's interesting. If he knows everything, does he know that what he knows is going to be changed? Anyway, I'm not going to address that. I'm not going to address that question. And does he? And then you can even backtrack further. Does he know that he knows that he knows? Anyway, again, a chinchip. Krishna's inconceivable, and we just have to love him. So I found that quite interesting. And so anyway, so in the case of Akrura, I found another verse that applies to him in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the famous verse 930, which devotees use to excuse sometimes abominable activities. Apichet sudracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak. That my devotee, in spite of the most abominable activity, and Akrura certainly committed an abominable activity. I mean, he didn't personally kill Satyajit, but he, isn't it, encouraged it. He didn't say, hey, this is not a good idea. Because if you see something and you have the ability to stop it and you don't stop it, you're also responsible. You can't say, I'm an innocent bystander. So he's guilty. Yet Krishna says, in the case of his devotee, in spite of the most abominable action, devotee is considered saintly because he is rightly situated. So that applies to occur in this particular case because it's a one-off thing. It wasn't predestined. That's another important point with this particular verse, which Prabhupada pointed out. One time there was a devotee, I hate to say this, I don't know if he was actually a devotee, but who killed another devotee because the other devotee had taken his wife away. And then one devotee quoted to Prabhupada, well, he's considered saintly because of in spite of the most abominable action. And Prabhupada said, no, it's premeditated. It's one thing if something happens, you just slip. Let's say you're walking by, you're going preaching at the university, and people are smoking ganja, and you have this habit, and you say, oh, give me a toke. Give me a toke, anyway. And then you realize, oh my God. And then you take precaution not to do it again. And Prabhupada also said, it can be like the American game of baseball. 3 strikes and you're out. First time. Baseball? Everybody knows baseball. Anyway, 3 strikes and you're out. So, anyway, that's an accidental deviation. Not that you're probably, tomorrow I'm going to go buy some marijuana. Tomorrow I'm going to, go and surf the internet and look pornography or something like that. Obviously. So in Kura's position was actually accidental. He became overcome, and he's feeling repentance. That's another point. Krishna, he is repentant. I mean, he left, he felt guilty. And so Krishna is giving him some slack, and Akrura is a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, anyway, I wrote down yesterday some examples of how Krishna is impartial, and then also examples of how Krishna is partial to devotees, apart from this particular pastime. So generally, one would think that one would be partial to one's children, right? Generally, one is partial to one's children. Yet, Krishna showed his impartiality by killing his own son, Bhaumasura. Not only killing his own son, but arranging so that his wife would give him permission to do it. Tricking his wife so that his wife's son and his son would be killed. Another example is, we mentioned Lord Shiva in the beginning of the class, how Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that Krishna sometimes fights seriously with Lord Shiva when Lord Shiva opposes him. There are two instances that I can think of right now. One is when Lord Shiva is devotee by the name of Kashi Raj. Because yesterday there was some mention in the class, there was some mention of Kashi, which is a place of Lord Shiva, where Lord Shiva is worshipped. Actually, more important nowadays is this place called Gupta Kashi. Anyone know what Gupta Kashi is? What? You know where it is? We mentioned this the other day. Bhubaneswara. And that's the story of that's the story of Kashi Raj. The Kashi Raj, of course, was fighting with Krishna along with Danta Vakra. He was fighting with Krishna, and of course Krishna does his thing with the Sudarshan Chakra disc, cuts off the head of Kashi Raj and kills Danta Vakra. And then Kashi Raj means the king of Kashi. And Kashi Raj's son, I believe his name was Sudakshina, he worships Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva creates this creature, this big creature, to attack Dwarka. So this creature goes to Dwarka, and basically Krishna pulls out a Sudarshan Chakra disc, and the creature goes back, gets scared, burns Kashi to ground, and then, or kills Sudakshina, and then the Sudarshan Chakra goes back and destroys Kashi, which is Lord Shiva's abode. So Krishna is showing his impartiality in this particular case. Also, another story, Krishna fighting with Lord Shiva over Banasura's story. You remember that story? It's a very interesting story. Usha and Chitraleka's story and everything like that. So, and then there was Shiva Jwara against the Narayana Jwara. And the Narayana Jwara overcame because it's cold and the Shiva Jwara is warm or hot. And so the Shiva Jwara actually surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then another story about Krishna's impartiality is even though the demigods, Krishna generally favors the demigods, he was fighting with them when they opposed his taking the Parijata flower. Okay. And then, all right, so let me tell you stories. Of course, even with these stories of Krishna's impartiality, there's always a partiality towards someone. Like in the case of Krishna fighting the demigods, Krishna's partial with Satyabhama. So it's always a mix. Krishna shows, he's really impartial, but he becomes partial with the person he wants to become partial in that particular instance. Whereas in other instances, he'll switch gears. He'll become partial to the person he was impartial with before, and then against someone he was partial with. Anyway, so here's one or two instances where Krishna shows his partiality towards devotees. Famous incident where Arjuna was fighting with Bhishma, and Bhishma was getting so powerful he was going to destroy Arjuna, and Krishna broke his promise. He showed his partiality to his devotees. And the other one I mentioned, of course, was the Bhagavatam, where Krishna broke his rules to save Gopakumar. Another one is when Arjuna was fighting or attempting to kill Jayadratha because he had made a vow. Krishna showed his partiality by covering the sun, so it seemed to be the end of the day. So Jayadratha and the soldiers in the Kuru dynasty let down their guards. And And the final one, partiality, is really interesting. How one becomes a devotee and one becomes forgiven, just like the Prabhupada was forgiven. Is the story I was telling last night in class about Lord Nityananda and the dacoits. These dacoits, I mean, the head of the dacoits was a Brahmin. Imagine a Brahmin dacoit. And they had killed numerous people, tortured numerous people, robbed numerous people. It was a whole gang. And they were thinking, let us attack this Avaduta Nityananda. In fact, they probably wanted to kill Nityananda to take what? All the jewels on his body. He had diamonds, sapphires, pearls. Can you imagine a sannyasi dressing like that? Actually, we were reading the story also in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, how one Brahmin came to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and complained about Lord Nityananda and said, I'm a little disturbed. He's supposed to be a sannyasi. Sannyasis are not supposed to have jewelry on their bodies. But every single finger had like a diamond ring on it. Can you imagine if I come to class one day? And so, anyway, so this whole group of dacoits wanted to kill Lord Nityananda, steal. And then, then there was the whole story. They made 3 attempts. 1 attempt, they slept through. Another attempt, they saw these giant guards. A 3rd attempt, they became blinded. And then they surrendered to the Lord Nityananda, became great devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they always chanted the holy names. So Krishna's definitely showing when you become a devotee, then aham tvam sarvapapayebhyo mokshayashyami masucha, that definite partiality. So it's really interesting, this whole discussion of Krishna's partiality versus impartiality. All I know is we have to surrender and become devotees and love Krishna, and then Krishna will make sure that we're all right, even if he has to fight with us sometimes. So, question. Yeah. That's right. Is the cat dead or is the cat alive? Yeah. You can explain that later.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Aravindanalayakaksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham
Namakakung Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Puttalai Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Namani Namandai Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Sharandegi Sesh Shunyavati Matsujari Satarade Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Gati, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Gati, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Jaya Radha, looking at the Rana, looking at the Radhe. Jaya Radha, looking at the Rana, looking at the Radhe. Jaya Radhe. Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jai